Oh, we went from ant nibblers to ant gobblers. Ooh, the terror. Hello everybody, welcome to Creative Gaming, the show where we inject a bit of RNG into our playthroughs, either for challenge purposes or just a new way to play the game. And you all know my cat Negativio, my faithful feline, my special sidekick, my 90s Saturday morning cartoon reject who's adorable but virtually useless. All he does is eat, complain, and collect dust. Today we're going to another childhood favorite of mine, Dragon Quest III, or as it was known at the time, Dragon Warrior 3. Another one of my favorite series, along with Mega Man and Final Fantasy. I played the very first Dragon Warrior when I was about 10 years old. I first had rented the game, I didn't really understand it. I probably walked to the north, got my ass handed to me, and returned the game to the store the next day. But even though I didn't understand how to play this game, something stuck with me. I was curious to rent it again and try again. What was this game about? It wasn't like anything I had ever seen before. So I didn't make much progress, but it wasn't until Nintendo Power subscriptions were giving away free copies of this game that I really got intrigued. Nintendo Power revealed that the game would come with maps and an instruction manual on how to play the game. I was a poor kid, so buying a Nintendo game was a pretty rare thing. But I got the game, be it with a little help, and the rest is history. Fast forward to a few years later, Dragon Warrior 3 came out, and it far surpassed its predecessors. I have so many versions of this game. It was remade and re-released a dozen times. Today I will be playing the latest and hottest version, Dragon Quest III HD 2D. I was worried when this game was announced because I played so many different versions of this game so many times that I wondered how they could reinvent it, keep it fresh, beyond a graphical overhaul. And I have to say it didn't disappoint. Alright, let's begin the game.
Are you not doing a dice challenge today? You're starting the game without your usual exposition.
Yep, I do have a dice challenge for this game. We'll get the first part going first. I'll explain more when we get to assembling the party members. Let's do regular difficulty. Obviously this wasn't part of the original version, asking you some questions then throwing you some minor challenge to decide your hero's personality. Personalities affect certain stats, so let's see what we get. Okay, go north and don't stop for anything, no matter what. Oh, there's a person in trouble over there, and since my hero is pure of heart, he will do that detour and rescue the person. Now we start the game at the same spot as the original, the morning of our character's 16th birthday. For those of you who have finished Dragon Quest XI, there is an interesting connection here, where the mom places a book in the library, then goes on to wake up her son or daughter. It's interesting how Dragon Quest XI connects to the original trilogy of the series. Now we're off to meet the king. Damn, this game looks gorgeous. With the HD 2D style of Octopath Traveler.
Fell into the maw of that accursed volcano.
Just exploring the castle a bit. You can find goodies if you look everywhere. Alright, now we go to Patty's party planning place, where we will assemble a party. This is where my dice will come in. So here are my rules for this playthrough. I'm gonna roll 3 8-sided dice, and that will determine my party. I will have to create characters with the classes I roll. So one will be the warrior, and the other numbers will represent these other classes in the order here. I am also gonna create a 4th standby character. Here's the thing, if I don't roll a merchant in my main party, my 4th standby character will be a merchant by default. If I do roll a merchant in my main party, then I can roll for the standby character. For those of you familiar with this game, you absolutely need to create a merchant character and give him away, it's mandatory, so that's why I'm doing this. I can't create any characters beyond these 4, so they're with me for the rest of the game. I can interchange them as needed. Another rule, if I happen to roll a gadabout, or otherwise known as the Jester, then I am allowed to freely change their class into the Sage later on. I consider this class change the specialty of the gadabout, so if I have to drag his carcass throughout the game, then I am allowed to freely upgrade him to a Sage.
What about your cheat? What's it gonna be this time?
As for my cheat, I will explain more towards the end of this video. I can't even use my cheat for some time. It has to do with the Shrine of Dharma, or Alltrades Abbey, so stay tuned for more info on that. Alright, the time has come for me to roll for my classes and see what I get. Let's brush up these 8-sided dice here. Okay, so I roll a 1, a 4, and an 8. So that gives us a warrior, a priest, and a monster wrangler. Okay, not the most unique party in the world. In fact, many players have probably created this party to start with. The monster wrangler is a brand new class for this game, so we'll see what they're capable of. Okay, so here we create the warrior. I like that we can choose different looks to them, even a voice, though it doesn't really matter. They don't talk too much. And of course the seed distribution. You're given 5, you can raise the stats that you want, and it gives the character a personality as well. Now we're creating the priest. We'll do female. Now the monster wrangler. And now our standby character, which will automatically be a merchant since I didn't roll one in my party. Alright, here we go. Out into the fascinating world of Dragon Quest III. Our first encounters, the slimes, which is usually the case in all of these games. I also like that they added the tactics menu. While a lot of people like to control character by character, I do like my characters to be a bit autonomous. Sometimes it's not the optimal strategy. I manually control my characters in boss fights or more difficult encounters, but for weaklings I just let them go to town. Oh, that's slow. I forgot to adjust the battle speed. Oh yeah, this is way too slow. I'll have to fix that when I get out of this fight. I also have the elevating shoes, which increase your experience by walking, very handy for this early portion of the game. The original Dragon Warrior games were notorious for insane time spent grinding for levels. Raising a few more levels here. I also like how they stuck little treasures everywhere on the world map. The map does feel a bit bigger to me, and exploring it feels more rewarding, these little sparkly spots. I thought maybe they would implement an alchemy system where you could create items by combining other items, but they didn't do that. Now the Metal Manor. Let's see what's available. To my recollection, this game was the first RPG to implement a day-night cycle. Correct me if I'm wrong, I can't think of any RPGs off the top of my head that came before that gave us passage of time like this, where enemies are stronger at night and townfolks go to bed, there is different dialogue that you can witness or new areas you can access, etc, etc. I believe this was the first time it had been done in an RPG. Now we get to Reeve. Let's see what they have to sell. You may be tempted to get all of the strongest weapons and armor before going to the caves, but in whatever version you're playing, that's usually way too much of a time vacuum. It's not really necessary. If you feel one of your characters doesn't deal enough damage or takes too much damage, go ahead and buy that extra equipment for him, but otherwise you don't need to optimize every character at this early point in the game. I love the early design of this game. In the first 2 Dragon Quests, you didn't really have what I like to call a tutorial portion of land to explore. You could get lost really easily and wander away because they gave you a very large world to explore right off the bat, and you could get squashed by higher level enemies. But in this game, you start off on an island with just enough space to explore without being able to wander too far away. You have a cave that connects to a tower, so it gives you 2 dungeon types that preface what you could see later in the game. One thing that was annoying was the insane encounter rate. In the old games, you could encounter enemies every 7 or 8 steps, and I see it's not too far off in this game either. A fairly high encounter rate, but that's okay. I grew up on this shit. I'm no stranger to dungeon crawling. And the Frogors, or they're called toadies here. I like some of the old names like Frogors, the Babbles, etc. Maybe it came from bad translation, but it's still humorous and charming. They still use enough puns in their enemies though, like the Raven Lunatic. Get it? Raven Lunatic? Anyway, This is one of the things that the early games did right, prioritizing enemies. In this large group, you could just repeatedly hit the A button and attack all the enemies in order, but that's not always the best strategy. Getting to know your enemies is a big part of the game. In this encounter, the butterfly enemies have the dazzle spell that reduce your character's hit percentage and make them miss a lot. You may want to focus your attacks on them first. The Babble or Bubble Slime can poison one of your party members, so he might be an enemy that you target early on as well. As the game pits you against large groups, you constantly have to make decisions about who to eliminate first. Do you first eliminate that tough ogre who does a shitload of damage? Or do you take down that group of mushroom enemies whose sweet breath can put you to sleep? This was very important in Dragon Quest II as well. That game is widely known to be the most difficult in the series, so you had to prioritize your enemies well. Here we get the Thief's Key. This allows you to open a few doors on the island. Oh nice, a boomerang. I always love my hero to equip these. Attacking all enemies is always a plus. They added an extra locked door in this dungeon. I don't believe this was in any of the other DQ3 games. Ah shit, I hate that. An encounter right before accessing a treasure chest or entering a town. Alright, wasn't anything mandatory here, but a seat of agility is always nice. You always have to read townspeople's clues, otherwise you might miss that you have to get a wrecking ball in the town of Reeve. Now we're on to the next dungeon, the Promontory Cave. Oh, we went from ant nibblers to ant gobblers. Ooh, the terror. Oh, I love playing this game in this enhanced version. Great graphics, great music, maps, the classic enemies I remember and love. Ah yes, this is new to this game as well. Recruiting monsters. I like that they were able to take an existing concept, the monster arena, and enhance it in this fashion. It makes your monster wrangler valuable, and adds a new level of search and discovery of these friendly monsters to join you to fight in the arenas. So now I get to Romalie, or Romeria in this game. Alright, so I think we'll save it here for today, but before I go, I'll explain my cheat for this game. I call it a cheat, but it's not really a cheat. You see, later in the game, once I reach the Alltrades Abbey, I will be allowed to roll the die for each of my party members for a secondary class option. I can decide for each character if I want to change them to their secondary class or not. Would I want to change my cleric into a martial artist? Should my monster wrangler become a wizard if I roll it? These are decisions I will have to make later on. I urge you to try this challenge as well, and join me in the next episode where I continue my long quest to defeat the Archfiend Baramos.
Who's Baramos?
Well, he's the Archfiend, the one we must get, the ruler of evil.
I'm shaken.
Okay, so Baramos is probably one of the least developed supervillains in the franchise. He falls into the Dragon Quest cliché of an inexplicably overpowered monster who just sits on its throne waiting for you to make your way to them. You're going down, biatch. See you in the next episode.